to shake things up.
A cycle of anger isn't healthy.
I'll be healthy again, as soon as I make a couple of cheaters pay for blowing up my life.
There were a number of times when you or a member of your family needed a favor. This is a situation where you owe me one. Have a nice rest of your day.
It sounds like someone deliberately tried to hurt you.
Sounds like attempted murder.
Can't imagine how terrified you must have been.
I found out who did this.
I love you, Derek.
For one night, let me remind you who you still are.
I fell in love with an inconvenient man.
Now you have to deal with the inconvenient consequences. You see how that works?
You couldn't possibly hurt me more than you already have.
Don't try me.
We've got a problem. Protecting the family is our priority.
The 2-week arc sets up monumental stories for the future. The diagnosis public. The cat is out of the bag. The family must now navigate Nicole's illness in the public eye, affecting stock prices, social standing, and personal dynamics. Legal battles over competency and stewardship of her assets loom. Tyrell's reckoning. His sabotage will have dire consequences. A police investigation points to him, and Julian must decide whether to protect his son or let him fall to rid himself of a liability. Tyrell may find an unlikely ally in Sasha, who sees his spiral for what it is, a cry for help from a drowning man. The Thorn threat. Marcus is revealed to be methodically moving his pieces on the board. His romance with Ashley gives him the perfect insider track to launch a hostile takeover of the fractured Channing empire. His connection to the Grayson past suggests a revenge plot decades in the making. New alliances. Expect Victoria and Damien, once bitter rivals, to form a temporary, uneasy pact to defend the family fortress from Marcus Thorne. Meanwhile, Evan, desperate to prove himself, might make a devil's bargain with Julian. In short, the next 2 weeks of Beyond the Gates dismantle the old order. Nicole's vulnerability, Tyrell's destruction, and Ashley's defection create a power vacuum that a dangerous new force is poised to fill. The message is clear: the Gates are no longer keeping the world out. The real threat has already been invited inside. This leads to a physical altercation at the Sterling Capital offices that leaves both men blooded and their war irrevocably escalated. Then, in the most dramatic cliffhanger of the second week, Tyrell, in a fugue state of anger and desperation, sabotages a key structural component at the Gates Resort expansion site. His goal isn't to hurt people, but to create a crisis so large that all hidden truths must surface. The act precipitates a dramatic, mid-construction collapse that leaves several workers in peril and traps a major character in the rubble. A disaster that will have legal, financial, and mortal consequences. Ashley's new romance, a strategic or sincere alliance. Amidst the family chaos, Ashley Chambers makes a calculated, yet unexpectedly passionate, move. Still reeling from her failed engagement to Evan Sterling and her diminished status at Channing Holdings, Ashley is playing the long game for power and security. Her new romance is with none other than Marcus Thorne, the enigmatic, self-made tech billionaire who has been quietly acquiring shares in Channing Holdings through shell companies. Maya, initially furious at being kept in the dark, quickly transitioned into a state of focused, practical devastation. Her energy turned toward mobilization, researching specialists, planning how to rearrange her life with Matteo and their children to be Anita's primary caretaker. Her pain manifested not in tears, but in a flurry of spreadsheets and doctor contacts, a desperate attempt to impose order on the chaos of illness. Her interactions with her wife, Tessa, were poignant. Tessa became the soft landing place for the grief Maya wouldn't yet allow herself to feel publicly. The Abbott influence. Billy, haunted by his role in the leak, threw himself into being Lily's rock, his own tumultuous history giving him a grim, determined empathy. Jack Abbott, upon learning the full scope, quietly used his considerable influence and network to make discreet calls to top-tier medical institutions, a gesture of pure, unsolicited support that spoke volumes about the deep, enduring bonds between the Abbotts and the extended Chancellor Winters clan. Nate Hastings, now freed from HIPAA constraints as the news was public, moved from a professional to a personal role. He arrived at the Grand Phoenix apartment Devon shared with Anita, not as a doctor, but as a nephew. He sat with Anita, translating medical jargon into plain language, advocating for her agency in her treatment plan, and providing a calm, knowledgeable presence in the emotional storm. His actions solidified his place not just as the town's talented surgeon, but as its compassionate heart. Anita Lawson, the eye of the storm. Throughout the week, Anita herself was a portrait of quiet grace under unimaginable pressure. After the news broke publicly, she did not retreat. Instead, she gathered her family, Devon, Lily, Nate, Maya, and the grandchildren, in her living room on the morning of January 2nd. In what may be remembered as one of the character's most powerful scenes, she acknowledged the elephant in the room with a wry, tired smile. "Well," she began, "since you've all been drafted into this army, I suppose I should be your general." Her speech was not one of surrender, but of clarity and love. She outlined what she knew, admitted her fear, but fiercely insisted on joy. "This diagnosis is a part of my story now," she stated, her voice gaining strength, "but it is not the title. And I will not have this family's title for 2026 be the year of Anita's illness. We will have hard days. We will fight. But we will also laugh. We will live. You will not stop living your lives for me." She then made a direct appeal, mending the rift between Devon and Lily by taking the blame for the secrecy upon herself, explaining she needed time to process before burdening her children. It was a masterclass in matriarchal strength, reframing the narrative from one of pity to one of collective resilience. Festive foils and shifting alliances. The New Year celebration served as a poignant, often painful, counterpoint. The glittering Abbott Gala felt increasingly surreal for those in the know. Claire Grace, observing the fractured family, shared a moment of unexpected empathy with Kyle, bonding over the unique pain of watching a family in crisis from a slightly peripheral vantage point. At the Genoa City Athletic Club's more raucous party, Adam Newman's attempt to propose a bold, cutthroat New Year's business strategy to Victor fell flat. The patriarch was distracted, his thoughts clearly on the plight of a woman he has long respected. Victor's gruff, "Family matters first, Adam. Always. Remember that," signaled a potential shift in his priorities as he ages. A city held in breath. As the week closed on Friday, January 2nd, the initial shock had metabolized into a grim, united focus. The frivolous resolutions about gym memberships and dry Januaries were forgotten, replaced by a single, silent, collective resolution to support one of their own. The Chancellor Estate became a quiet hub of activity, with food deliveries from Sharon Rosales, childcare offers from Elena Dawson, and a steady, supportive presence from Jill Abbott, who knows all too well the terror of a mother's illness. The final image of the week was not of fireworks, but of a family quietly gathered in Anita's apartment. Devon and Lily, their argument not fully resolved but shelved in the face of a greater enemy, sat side by side on the sofa. Maya rested her head on Tessa's shoulder. Nate reviewed a medical file in an armchair. And Anita, wrapped in a vibrant shawl, looked at her family, flawed, fractious, but fiercely bonded, and allowed herself a small, genuine smile. The battle ahead was daunting, its outcome terrifyingly uncertain. But in that moment, on the threshold of a new year that had arrived not with promise, but with a profound test, Genoa City witnessed the true meaning of family. The fight for Anita Lawson's life had become the defining story of 2026, and in its shadow, every other rivalry, romance, and business scheme was suddenly rendered trivial.